Looking to replace your OEM diesel particulate filter or diesel oxidation catalyst? Look no further than DPF XFit, a complete line of aftermarket diesel particulate filters and diesel oxidation catalysts designed as an exact fit OEM replacement with all makes coverage for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks. With thousands of units in stock, we ship the same or next day, and be sure to check out our comprehensive reverse OEM lookup tool. Always new, never remanufactured. For more information, be sure to visit dpfxfit.com. That's dpfxfit.com.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Joe Costello back with you. WFO Radio, talking NHRA drag racing. Our Lucas Oil Series Parade of Champions has begun. We are going to try to connect with each Lucas Oil Series champion before the start of the 2025 season, or maybe a little bit after. It has been fun, a great part of the year, every year. The other day, I was reading some social media traffic and getting to know the Lucas Oil Series drivers' personalities. Honestly, some of the coolest people in all the pits. I know the Mission Food Series and the 330 mile per hour nitro cars get a lot of the love and attention, but the people that are out there working hard, day jobs, just so that they can go chase points and battle for a championship are some of the real stories, great personalities, and we have got one today. He is your Lucas Oil Superstock World Champ, his second World Championship in two different categories, which is apparently a very big deal in the NHRA, Mr. Jimmy Hidalgo Jr. The country puppy. What's up, Jimmy? How are you?
Good. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great. AKA Cooter. You got a bunch of nicknames.
Yep, got a couple.
All right, so let's talk about why, and I didn't really understand this until pretty recently, winning multiple world championships in multiple categories is kind of a big accomplishment in the NHRA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just winning two championships in general, even in the same category, is quite a feat that not many people are able to accomplish in a lifetime. So I'm very honored, to be able to get my second championship and then also making an additional category, which puts my name on a list of, pretty very talented racers, a lot of racers that I looked up to growing up and watched them and learned from them and adapted.
And I understand, and maybe it's not this way anymore, but at least it was at one time, entering races becomes a little different because of that champions, like a champion can enter, what is it? Anything? How does that work?
Yeah, you don't, you no longer need grade points to enter a race, which, and being I did it in stock and super stock now, I don't have to worry about getting in, with 8 grade points, because there's several races that tend to fill up very quickly. Gainesville is one of them. And now it's, first rate national event of the year. So it's always been a historic race there. A lot of tough competition. A lot of drivers come from up north, dodging the snow early in the year and ready to get racing. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to win that race once too already. And, it's just one of those big events that means a little more.
That is awesome. Well earned. It's a balance. There's quotas. The racers hate when people with champions exemptions actually enter when they don't need to enter because they can just use their champions exemption. I'm sure you'll get that at some point, but the fans want to see guys who have won championships, the best of the best at certain races, and you'll be doing it. Let's go back to the beginning of the season. Just a couple of years ago, we talked about you in the GTO. You got the Firebird a little bit of love this year. You guys are Pontiac people, clearly, that LS power. When you started the season, I know you are gunning for a championship every time you start a season in the Lucas Oil Series.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. I mean, that's always the year, the goal at the beginning of the year. I always one race at a time, but, when September starts rolling around, that's when you're really looking to just hope you're still in contention. If you're not leading, as long as you're within striking distance, And, every race that goes by, just try to take one race at a time. And, the points always work themselves out. It typically never goes how you imagine it'll go. But, you just let the points work themselves out in the end. And, hopefully you're on top.
Walk us through your season, where you had success, where the wins happened, and the critical moments. I know we picked it up down the stretch. It's hard to keep track of points until, call it Indy, and then it starts taking shape, and you start realizing who's in the running, who's got claims left, and you had a battle in 2 classes going. You had a really legit chance to win both the stock and super stock world championships. But walk us through super stock and where you were able to get on the board early.
Okay, yeah, super stock. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the list to.
There you go.
I don't miss anything.
There you go.
And we did have some struggles early in the season. I'm gonna point that out when I get my list up here, and that turned around. I'll get to that when we talk about the turning point on that one.
You're doing a great job of killing time. Like, you should say you have your own podcast, right? Like, that's my life. What you're doing right now is my life 90% of the time. Like, just kind of like keeping it going while I'm looking for something on my phone, and then we'll be ready to go.
Yep. Okay. So we started off the year at our home track in Belrose. We had a division race, had a second round of there. And then from there, we went to Gainesville, did the Baby Gators and the National, and made 4 rounds at the divisional and lost first round at the National. That's kind of when something started seeming a little off with the car. And so we came home after Gainesville, and I was thinking maybe something was, the engine, it was time to start freshening it up. So I swapped and put another engine in. And then we went to Reynolds, Georgia after that, which was a little over a month later. And I did test. I managed to test one time before we left, headed there, and it seemed like it was doing okay. And after the final qualifying run in Reynolds, the car slowed up like a 10th. And with no other signs, we looked everything over, didn't see any good indicators of why I did that. So we changed transmission and converter before first round. So kind of going in the first round, not really very confident on the dial in, don't know what the car is going to do, and managed to get by that round, which entailed on me, once I got that one under my belt, I felt better about the car. It wasn't slowing down. It wasn't running what it should, but it was at least being consistent. So fortunately, I was locked in on the tree, and the car stayed at least consistent for me where, it was predictable. And then from there, we went back home to Belrose Sports Nationals and actually won stock there and lost second round of super stock. I think lost to one of the Emmons. Second round, we had a really tight race. So from there, we went to Dallas, and that was the double divisional. And actually made it to the finals in both cars, lost stock and came back up, won super stock. And then second race, lost second round, and the car is still not running what it should be at this time. And then ultimately the next event was Bristol National, when the car the Gremlins took a turn for the worse, and the car wouldn't even make it down the track first round, so lost first round there. And then generally we usually take off.
Let's pause for a second there.
Okay.
Let's pause right there. So it sounded like this is very frustrating. I mean, you're having some success, but a mysterious problem, and you're just kind of skipping over it for time. But I'm sure you're trying to find it. You're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, why is this thing not doing what it's supposed to be doing?
Oh, absolutely. We like I said, we changed motors. And then it seemed like it was okay, but I know the other motor wasn't quite as good as the other one, so I kind of expected it to not be quite as good. And then, yeah, I was changing converters and transmissions and just rewiring stuff, and just didn't really seem to respond to anything. Fuel injectors, fuel pump, redid the fuel system. And then after Bristol, it was like, okay, well, something drastic needs to happen. We got a couple months off, so finally I pulled the rear end out, and I think that was the biggest issue that was causing it. It was starting to, which surprisingly, normally I can hear the rear end, starting to get noisy, and it really wasn't as bad as it looked. It wasn't making very much noise. So that's
what does that look like? You got like teeth off on the ring gear? Or?
Yeah, it had broken teeth, and I don't know. Like I said, normally I hear stuff before it even gets to the point where it's actually slowing it down and it's that bad, but it didn't. I mean, obviously it was quieter after we changed it, but I guess it was kind of a gradual thing to where, it slowly was getting a little bit louder. But yeah, once we found that, I did a little testing. We had 2 months off, so I did a little testing, and sometime around August, we started feeling good about it again, and we were geared up, ready to go to Tulsa, which would be our next race. I'll start back up from 2.5 months off.
That's got to bring you confidence, though, when you found the problem. And like, this is note to self on my own car, like check the ring gear, right? Like, once you seal up that rear end and, you figure it'll be good until it breaks, right? Like, you'll know when something's wrong with it. It'll let you know, but I guess it didn't.
Yeah, most times, I mean, like I said, it normally get pretty noisy, and like, hey, this thing's not gonna make another run, if you don't do something. So this one, for whatever reason, just didn't get to that point. But like you said, in the end we found it, luckily, and we went to Tulsa, and Tulsa was a double divisional, and doubled up one stock and super stock the very first race back, which was. I don't remember the exact points at the time, but I was behind at the time, but I obviously knew, still in contention, just need to stay on course. And so that was pretty big, coming in and winning, doubling up, and taking a good jump in points. And then second race in Tulsa, bowed out first round. So the very next weekend we went to St. Louis National, and I think I lost fourth round in stock, and I managed to win super stock there. So that's kind of the point where we started looking at points, and it's like, we got a shot here. A lot of people still did at the time. A lot of people did all the way to the end. So it's like nothing to really get excited about, but it's always good just to have a chance that late in the year. And then, obviously things never turn out the way you want them to. And you start going to like the next two races, Dallas Divisional and National, a second and third rounder. If either one of those races, I could have just made maybe 4 or 5 rounds, I could have had a much bigger lead and felt a lot better about things. But that's, the way things work out sometimes.
So on that note, just because we documented the run, it was in stock eliminator. At this point, you're at the Texas Motorplex, the Stampede of Speed. And that's the race I was racing with Bo and Randy Lynn. And she was like, there could be a big round 2 matchup in stock eliminator with Cooter and Joe Sorensen. And like let's cover that. And so we went down, we brought the social media team. I don't know if you ever saw that video, if you follow NHRA social, but we followed you guys all the way up. And you got the round. Joe wins the championship, right? But it was like a big moment. What are you feeling in that? Like, are you able to make it just another race? Or, in a moment like that, that's not for the championship, it's certainly implications. You feel that extra?
I mean, a little bit, but, I've been in enough big pressure situations. Obviously, it's always worse when everything's on the line. Like you said, it wasn't the end of it right there, but certainly could have helped myself out a little bit. And but it was big, I mean, it lived up to the hype. I did see the video. It was great. Randy Lynn did a phenomenal job. And we were both double on a tree, and I was fortunate enough to come out on the better side of the math.
That's crazy. Now, we had so much fun. We're going to try to do as much of that as we can. It's obviously time specific and situational. Like, does it happen, and can we get to it? But that was great. But so it occurs to me that you've got a lot going on keeping track of stock, keeping track of super stock? Like, do you have these cars set up the same identically so you can drive them the same, or do you have to switch your driving style car to car?
No, I actually do set them up the same. I mean, a lot of people that run stock and super stock, have them set up different, but it's all in what you're comfortable with. And, when you jump in, kind of anytime you get in a car that you've run a lot, it really doesn't matter what the routine is. You just know it, you feel it, and that just goes with getting a lot of laps in it. And even if it's a different routine in another car, it's like you get in a different vehicle, and, everything's totally different no matter how much you make it the same.
Got it. All right. So now let's go down the stretch to the critical runs.
Okay. So after Dallas, we were playing the head west, so went to Vegas. Obviously, I think at this point it was still had a shot in both. Really felt a little better about stock just because of what I had left to improve on. And I think Joe, I don't remember the exact numbers, but pretty much as long as he didn't go like really far in the race, like semis or finals, I was probably going to be, that would have really helped me out. And unfortunately, he made it to the finals and he won. So that was kind of the point where obviously I wasn't out yet, but it really hurt. And I wouldn't say, it didn't really affect me too much. I was still confident in what I was doing. I was still driving good. So it's just like, hey, it is what it is. I still got a shot at it. But on top of that, I did manage to win, super stock for the national. Well, run it up. We for the delayed, we had a week delay in between that. We were down to semis and it was getting late. So Brett Spear and I both had flights home, and we elected to just wait until the following weekend to run that final. And I think it didn't work out in my favor anyway, but stepping away for a little bit after what had happened, watching Joe win, I was sitting in my car running a buy run for Superstock and watched him win to go to the finals, to have a walk in the park heads up final. And so, I think it kind of benefited me a little bit, even though in the end it didn't work out, but it just kind of helped me get back focused and, kind of forget about that and move on.
Wow. Just I'm trying to put myself in your position as someone who aspires to drive a little, and managing the emotions is a huge part of this. Like, you let it go. Like, all right, that is over. The disappointment or whatever you were thinking about it, you let that go away and focused on Superstock. Yeah.
And like I said, it didn't work out in my favor. Brett just laid down a phenomenal run the next weekend. But, mentally I was just in a better state at that time, getting back into it. I forgot about the other stuff going on and concentrated on that one final we had to finish running. So we went into the division race and I lost second round of Superstock, which Superstock I couldn't improve at the divisional. So it wasn't really like, it was what it was at that point. I couldn't do anything else to improve myself. So even with that lost second round in Superstock, it was like, hey, it is what it is. Points will work themselves out. Let's go get stock. So I was doing pretty good there. And I saw, let's see what it was, fifth round. I matched up with Parker Theobald, who's a great driver. And, I knew it was going to be a tough round. And it's the round, everything's on the line. I'm 1 point behind. And, it just, the math didn't work out in my favor. I had a little bit on a tree and accidentally gave it back at the stripe. So, it hurt. Definitely a loss I'll never forget. But, I use the losses as motivation. And I tend to do it a lot. If I lose in one car, I tend to get in the other car and usually do pretty well if I lose. That's just kind of how I try to deal with those emotions,
Wow. You know what I'm thinking? Speaking of emotions, like, so you come up 1 point short, still got Superstock alive. What is your dad like during all of this? Like,
Yeah,
what does your dad do? Like, you're very cool. Like, sometimes the kid is the opposite of the parent. Sometimes the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You are like very cool and collected. Your dad is a ball of emotions. And so while you're describing this, my brain is thinking about your pop. Like, how's he dealing with all of this?
Yeah, he's obviously way more of a nervous wreck than I am. You know, I'm, like you said, I'm pretty cool all the time. I've been in some of these situations already, so I know it's not done till it's done, and the points are counted and the last race is done. So just try not to get too excited about it. Just control what I can control. That's what I stick with.
Excellent. All right, so let's go to the Superstock critical moment where you were able to become a 2-time champion in 2 different categories. Break that moment down.
Yeah. So after Vegas, we after losing stock, I was just kind of like, I just felt like the right thing to do was just go home and just let fate work itself out. It's we had been on the road a lot. It takes a lot of time away from family, so we could have went west, which I couldn't improve anything. So that was kind of the deal. If I could have improved, obviously we still would have went, but I would just, at that point, I was at the mercy of fate. And yeah, it was a little nerve wracking. We actually we flew to California, in the event that things did work out for me. And I spent some time with family at Disneyland, and we were actually walking into the park, and I got a text from Justin Lamb, "Congrats, champ." And because I had live timing on, but it has a delay. So that was actually how I found out. We were walking through security at Disneyland, and I got that text from Justin Lamb, and just unbelievable when I got the text. It's like it goes down the 4th round, kind of the way I lost in stock. Ron's been driving great the last few races of the year, which all year he drove good, but he was really locked in at the end. And to be at the mercy of that, it didn't really feel very good, I can tell you that.
Wow.
And
so what do you do in that moment? Like, do you start screaming in front of people like, yeah, or do you just like, yeah, like, what's that reaction when you're at Disney World with the family and you find out you're now a 2-time NHRA champion?
Yeah, I was pretty ecstatic. It's even having won one championship already. It was still a special moment. I don't think any win is any less important than the other. They're all hard to come by, and in championships even harder to come by. So it was very exciting. I would say I was maybe more excited than my first championship. It was just unbelievable that I was able to accomplish it again.
Amazing. Well, yeah, now you're elite. 2 different championships, 2 different categories, stock, super stock. That is rare air. Who do you want to thank, Jimmy? Who helped you get to this championship moment? Obviously your dad, and but I know there's a lot of people that help you behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that help. It's not possible to chase this all around the country without getting help from family and sponsors. Stan and Sheila Holt and J. Rod Grenier with Lupe Tortilla, Mr. Lord and Miss Linda Walford, James Cairo and Jacob with Engines Inc., Brad and Freddie with VP Racing Fuels, Goodyear, Buddy Mart, who was with us for years, working for Goodyear, retired last year, but he's always been great to us and a good friend, and Todd Rogers as well. Mr. Sid Bonacar helps us with our transmissions. Dave and Darren Smith at ProTrans, also with transmissions. Mr. John Partridge, Bullet Racing Cams, run those in all of our engines. He's always been a big help in, helping us keep a competitive edge. Fast Fuel Injection. We've been with Fast for many years. They got a great product. Just keep the cars dialed in, very easy to use. Fast Shocks, Randy Mans. He's been we've been working with Randy for probably about 12 to 14 years now, and he does a phenomenal job. He hits everything spot on. It's shocks are very critical, especially in stock. Small tire, you got to make sure the weight transfers, and you want them to land nicely, and he does a great job of that. Rick and Chase Huffman with Accelerated Graphics. Mr. Don Pellicino. He helps us with our engines. And No Problem Raceway, Mr. Pat Geoffrion, who was the original founder of No Problem Raceway, helped me get going early in my career. And Mr. Nelson and Miss Marla, who's running the track now, and Thomas, who's the track manager, but kind of continuing with Mr. Pat built there and trying to make it better. They work really hard trying to make the track a great place, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And with the sponsors, also my crew, who's usually with us at every race, Mr. Georgie Acosta and my uncle Phil Acosta. Without him, none of this would have been possible. He was able to take the rig. He drove the rig to Vegas for us. He did it in 22 when we won stock, and he did it again this year. And, it's always great to have great people that have your back. And Michael Bryant also, he's like kind of like a second dad to me. We always chit chat on the phone about racing and what we doing with the cars and where we going racing and this and that. And he's just always motivates me and make stuff happen when we need to make stuff happen. And also I want to thank my fiance Hannah, my son Braden, and my daughter Josie, as well as my mom and dad for they've always believed in me, and it really means the world to me now being able to accomplish these things and have them alongside of me, and for them to be able to witness it.
That is so great. That's what it's all about. And watching your dad go nuts on the starting line, like that's just the best, because he's, we need somebody to be like the ball of emotion, and he's it. That's for certain. Jimmy, congratulations on your second world championship. Thank you for sharing it with us here on WFO Radio. We got both of your championships archived now, and I think it is awesome. And what about 25? What's your plan? You going to go after it again, I would imagine? Yeah,
that's the goal of every year. Like I said, it always goes down to September really before you have an idea of anything. But, we just taking it one race at a time, going over the cars with a fine-tooth comb, trying to improve them. Always trying to make it better. And, we got a wedding in November, so that might put a little dent at the end, but I just got the season plan where we just got to be done by November. So hopefully things go good. And if we're in championship contention, hopefully it could be wrapped up early, which I know is pretty rare and pretty difficult to do. But like I said, it goes back to I'm going to control what I can control and do what I can. So
love it. Now listen, and if we got to postpone a wedding, like it's not the first time. Got to do it. Sometimes you got to just do it. Jimmy, thank you very much. Congratulations on your championship. All the best to your family and your dad, and can't wait to see you out there in 2025.
Thank you, Joe. See you soon.
There he goes. Your Superstock World Champion, Jimmy Hidalgo Jr., getting the job out there in the Lucas Oil Series. Just one of the great families who's had great success. You just learned a lot in the WFO Radio Parade of Champions. We'll be back after this.
This is WFO Radio.
That is right. We are back. Jimmy Hidalgo. How great is that? The Parade of Champions has been going pretty well. And I've received some feedback from people and like, hey, this is a big part of the year. The Parade of Champions, they earned it. I want to see more love to the Lucas Oil Series. And here's the deal. Jimmy Hidalgo Jr. could be your greatest rival. And we ask you to share the show. We ask you to share it for the stars of the Lucas Oil Series, right? Like, no Lucas Oil Series racer all on their own has got a tremendous following. But all together, if all the Lucas Oil Series racers, like hundreds from around the country, share the shows and put the personalities out there, we're going to grow the sport. And that's what it's all about. Congratulations to Jimmy and everybody involved with that team. All right, got a couple people I want to tell you about to keep WFO Radio going. But we've had a tremendous week and couple of weeks in the run up to the start of the 2025 season. We still got more champions we are trying to connect with. It is going to be great. And, we try to catch them all. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But I want to shout out to the folks at Jesse Converters, DPF Fit, Particulate filters, talking about catalytic converters for OEM trucks, big diesel trucks. It is a direct factory replacement. DPF XFit by Jesse. They've also got their G Sport line for the people out there using the unleaded fuel. It robs no power. They put it on a Pro Stock engine. It robs no power. Thanks to the folks at Jesse for being on board. Total Seal piston rings. If you run stock or super stock, you're probably running Total Seal rings. It's as simple as that. They've got rings that are compliant to the very strict rules, but also make a ton of power. Go to TotalSeal.com. Call Keith Jones. Call the guys. Call Kevin over there at Total Seal, and definitely check out the newest Hidden Horsepower episode. We'll be learning a lot about Ring Seal and Total Seal on the podcast, certainly. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters, whether it be ProMod, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, Monster Trucks, Mega Trucks, your street car, they do torque converters. They do transmissions. In fact, the Power Glide transmission that is in Project Pontiac is a 180 straight cut gear set from FTI. Go to FTIperformance.com to find out more information and tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. Shout out to CWTindustries.com. Balance machines for machine shops. If you're working in a machine shop and you've got an old balance machine, look, I know nobody likes to change, update. It works. It's good enough. But is it? How many times have you stuck with a piece of equipment a little too long? Could be working faster. It could be easier to train somebody on it. Boop, 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 boop. Touch screens. It works. It does it, and it does a better job. Randy Neal and the folks at CWT Industries doing a great job down there. And if you'd like a personalized introduction to get the ball rolling, because if it rotates, it can be balanced, CWTindustries.com. Email me, joe@WFOradio.com. Our great friends, the Allen family at HusseyPerformance.net. They give us their personal cell phone number, 724-318-8292. They're not just copperhead gaskets anymore. Their gasket material is top-notch. It's sourced here in the United States. Valve cover gaskets, oil pan gaskets, whatever you need. Plus, they've got a contingency program for Top Alcohol Funny Car, Top Alcohol Dragster, and Top Sportsman, Top Dragster as well for national events, and Top Sportsman and Top Dragster in the PDRA. So get in on their contingency program. That's HusseyPerformance.net, Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. It's all sourced right here in America. Do you have a muscle car, an exotic car, a race car that is no longer getting it done, or you don't want it anymore? It's going to be a barn find that your kids sell for way too less than it's worth. Go to Bernie's, BURNYZZ.com, and they are buying inventory. They can sell it on consignment and get you the max, right? Because they've got connections all around the world. They're selling their cars to a planet. And if you're putting it in the local paper or putting it out on a corner, you're selling it to a neighborhood. Think about it. BURNYZZ.com, home of the Fan Fest before the NHRA Amalie Oil Gator Nationals. Foggit, all you sportsman racers out there, FOGGIT, available at summit-racing-equipment.com. Foggit, at the end of your race day, you've got to protect the inside of your cylinder finish. Simple as that. Your valve seats. Corrosion is happening at a microscopic level. Down here in Florida, with all the humidity, you put away a hot engine on a humid night, it's a recipe for condensation. And then that condensation rolls into the remnant of combustion, and you've got sulfuric acid on your cylinder finish. Not good. Fog it down, spin over the starter, right down the carburetor. Next thing you know, you're good to go till the next morning. Fire it up. It will not foul your spark plugs. That is key. So you don't even need a fire-up set of plugs. Go to foggit.com or get it at summitracingequipment.com. Our friends at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, making it possible for the casual fan to drive a dragster. Maybe you want your Super Comp license, you want your Top Alcohol Funny Car license. They do that too. But I think the great way to start out is with the Dragster Adventure. It's less than $500, and you're driving dragsters for a day. They can even set up a race. So you and your guys, you go out there with a crew, you have a race, come out the winner, and then you can taunt them for the rest of your life. How fun is that? FrankHawley.com. And then Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com, the hot sauces and the spice rubs and the grills, the tools, the tips, the information. Down there in Fort Worth, Texas, you can swing by Rodak's, get your coffee roasted. Don't bring your own coffee, guys. He's roasting coffee that you buy. And maybe you can get some of that habanero endorphin booster hot sauce. But really, Marvin Rodak is a friend of the drag racer in Fort Worth. You know he's going to be out there at the Stampede of Speed later on in the year. Just want to mention WFO merch is available. We got Project Pontiac gear available. It is all on sale. Shout out to our friends at Wright Trailers 833-31-RIGHT, Right Trailers, nationwide. And you can pick up the show on PowerTube TV. Download the app, Roku, Apple. Get the app. You got all the Pink's classic shows, Pastime, and of course, WFO Radio. If you're a Patreon, you could hear the Rob Downing episode of Hear It From Heiner. Doesn't get more inside pro stock than that. If you want to hear the methodology, like how they think about a certain challenge, become a WFO Patreon and check it all out. What a start to the year it has been. We are super excited about what's going on in the NHRA. And I am fired up to be connecting with our Lucas Oil Series champions. To my count, we've got Colby Fuller and Cody Weber and Sean Bellemere and Joe Sorensen, who Jimmy battled right down to the wire. You could hear their stories of becoming champions, all in the WFO archive. If you're watching on YouTube, right down there, click the bell. Never miss a show. What is the bell? The bell is notification. So when we go live, it tells you. Would love comments. What do you think of Jimmy? Guy's a two-time champ. You know, when you win a championship in two different categories, that affords you rights that other people don't get. Like you can enter any event, as I understand it. It's pretty cool. You won a championship in two different categories, and it would be worth running and gunning for a championship for just that point. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the week. Appreciate all you guys. Remember, the archive is loaded. Ron Capps recently on the air. Capps talking about just a bevy of information. Got to check out the Ron Capps interview, 2025. Funny Car is going to be amazing. Top Fuel, already amazing. Insanity, Pro Stock, the Mission Food Series. The teams are getting ready to go again. The Lucas Oil Series teams getting ready to go again. Who will be the champions 1 year from now? Maybe it'll be you. You're out there, you're watching the show, you're watching Jimmy, you're thinking about, we are going after a stock eliminator or a super stock eliminator world championship. And you'll be on the show a year from now. Wow. Not that that's extra motivation, because it's not. All right, guys, WFO, appreciate all of you. Thanks to Jimmy for coming on the show. Tremendous deal. The fam, the dad, love that emotion. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Parade of Champions, WFO.